My name's Olivia, 38 years old, scraping by in the suburbs of Dayton, Ohio. Life looks decent from the outside. Two-story house, white picket fence, Ethan grilling burgers for the neighbors on Sundays. Our kids, Sophia, Noah, and Chloe, shooting hoops or riding bikes. But behind the curtains, I'm drowning. Mortgage, car loans, school fees, you name it. My dream of being a designer, buried under a pile of bills and dirty laundry. I used to sketch dresses late at night, imagining my name on a boutique window. Now, I'm just the mom who yells about homework and prays the washing machine doesn't break. Ethan and we're not what we used to be. He's a construction foreman, or was, always coming home bone-tired, crashing on the couch with a beer. I'd sit at the kitchen table, staring at overdue notices, feeling like the walls were closing in. One night, I tried to talk to him. "Ethan, I can't keep doing this alone," I said, my voice shaking. He barely looked up. "Just hang in there, Liv. It'll work out." I forced a smile, but inside I was screaming. My heart felt like it was cracking, piece by piece, and he didn't even notice. We weren't always like this. Back when we were dating, Ethan would drive me around in his beat-up Chevy, blasting Springsteen, promising we'd build a life together. I believed him. We got married, had Sophia, then Noah, then Chloe. But life got heavy. The kids needed braces, the roof started leaking, and Ethan's overtime barely covered the gaps. I took a job at Walmart, stocking shelves, smiling at customers while my soul felt like it was shrinking. I'd look at my reflection in the store's glass doors and think, who the hell is this woman? Then the call came. I was in line at Walmart, juggling groceries and a screaming Chloe when my phone buzzed. It was Ethan's buddy, Mike, from the site. "Liv, it's bad. Ethan fell off the scaffolding." My stomach dropped. I left the cart, grabbed Chloe, and sped to the hospital, my hands shaking on the wheel. The fluorescent lights in the ER burned my eyes as I ran to his room. There he was, my Ethan, hooked up to machines, his face pale, his legs still. The doctor's words hit like a sledgehammer. "Spinal injury. He may never walk the same." I stood there, frozen, Chloe clinging to my leg, asking, "Is Daddy okay?" I couldn't answer. The world felt like it was caving in. That night, I sat by his bed, holding his hand, but my mind was racing. How would we pay for this? The hospital bills, the kids, the house. Everything was on me now. I looked at Ethan, his chest rising and falling, and felt a wave of guilt for even thinking about money. But it was there, gnawing at me. I wasn't just scared for him, I was scared for us. For me. I'd been holding it together for so long, but this was too much. I wanted to scream, to run, to shake him awake and beg him to fix it. But he just lay there. And I was alone. The days after were a blur. I'd drive from the hospital to work, then to the kids' school, barely sleeping. Sophia, my oldest, started asking questions. "Mom, when's Dad coming home?" I'd mumble something about soon, but I didn't know. Noah drew pictures for Ethan, superheroes saving the day. And Chloe clutched her teddy bear, whispering, "Daddy's gonna be fine, right?" I'd nod, but my chest ached. I was lying to them, to myself. Ethan wasn't fine, and neither was I. I started noticing how empty I felt. Not just tired, hollow. I'd sit in the hospital parking lot, staring at the dashboard, wondering how we got here. I remembered our 5th anniversary, Ethan surprising me with a cheap necklace from a pawn shop. He'd grinned, said, "It's not much, but it's you and me, Liv." I wore it every day back then. Now, it sat in a drawer, forgotten, like the woman I used to be. I wasn't just grieving for Ethan's accident. I was grieving for us, for the life we'd lost long before he fell. One night, after another fight with the insurance company, I broke. I locked myself in the bathroom, slid to the floor, and sobbed. "Why me?" I whispered to no one. The weight of it all, the kids, the bills, Ethan's pain, was crushing me. I didn't know how to keep going. I didn't want to. I just wanted to feel something, anything, besides this suffocating fear. That's when I started pulling away. Not just from Ethan, but from myself. I didn't know it then, but I was already slipping, already setting the stage for the biggest mistake of my life. Looking back, I hate that version of me. Weak, selfish, scared. I thought I was protecting my family, holding it together, but I was just running from the truth. Ethan's accident wasn't the real disaster, it was what I did next that broke us. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand how it started, how a woman who loved her family could screw it all up. Stick with me, because this story isn't just about pain, it's about the cost of running from it. And trust me, I paid that price in full. If you think my life was a mess before Ethan's accident, you should have seen it after. That hospital room became my second home. White walls, beeping machines, the smell of antiseptic burning my nose. Ethan lay there, tubes snaking from his arms, his face twisted in pain even when he slept. I'd sit by his bed, holding his hand, but my head was screaming. How are we going to pay for this? Who's going to fix this? The bills were piling up faster than I could open the envelopes. Hospital stays, surgeries, meds. Thousands, tens of thousands. I'd stare at the numbers, my heart pounding, thinking, this is going to bury us. Before the accident, we were already stretched thin. Ethan and I fought about money all the time. One night, I'd snapped, "We're drowning, Ethan. Can't you see it?" He'd slammed his beer down, yelling, "You're always complaining, Liv. What do you want from me?" I'd shut up, but the resentment sat in my chest like a stone. I was tired of begging, tired of being the one who had to make it work. Now, with him in that bed, I didn't even have anyone to fight with. Just me, the kids, and a mountain of debt. Life became a blur of survival. I picked up night shifts at Walmart, stocking shelves until my back screamed. I'd race from there to the hospital, then to the kids' school, barely eating, barely sleeping. Coffee and Red Bull kept me upright. Sophia, my 14-year-old, started acting out, skipping classes, mouthing off. "You're never sick, never home, Mom," she screamed one night. I didn't have the energy to argue. Noah drew pictures of Ethan as a superhero, taping them to the hospital walls. Chloe, my little one, clung to her teddy bear, whispering, "Is Daddy coming home soon?" I'd force a smile, say, "Yeah, baby, soon." But I was lying. The doctors weren't sure he'd ever walk right again. Ethan wasn't the man I married anymore. Pain meds made him groggy, and when he was awake, he was angry. One day, he grabbed my wrist, his eyes wild. "Just let me die, Liv. I'm useless now." I yanked my hand back, tears stinging my eyes. "Don't you dare say that," I shouted, but inside I was breaking. I didn't know how to pull him out of that darkness, and worse, I wasn't sure I had the strength to try. I loved him, but I was so damn tired. Tired of his pain, tired of the kids' questions, tired of being the glue holding us together. That's when I made my first mistake. I started keeping the kids away from him. I told myself it was for their sake. "Daddy needs rest," I'd say when Chloe begged to visit. But the truth, I was scared. Scared of them seeing him like that, broken, angry. Not the dad who used to toss them in the air. Scared of them seeing me falling apart. One night, Chloe climbed into my lap, her teddy bear dangling. "Is Daddy going to be okay, Mommy?" she asked, her voice so small. I hugged her tight, whispering, "Of course, baby." But I couldn't look at her. I didn't want her to see the tears in my eyes, the fear that was eating me alive. I wasn't just protecting them. I was protecting myself. Every time I looked at Ethan, I saw my failure. I saw the life we'd promised each other, gone. I saw the woman I used to be, the one who laughed too loud, who dreamed of designing dresses, who believed in us. She was slipping away, and I didn't know how to hold on to her. I'd drive home from the hospital at 3 a.m., the radio off, the silence choking me. I'd park in the driveway, stare at our house, and think, this isn't a home anymore. It's a trap. The fights with Ethan didn't stop, even in the hospital. One day I brought him a burger, hoping it'd cheer him up. He barely touched it. "You don't get it, Liv," he muttered. "I'm not coming back from this," I snapped. "You think I don't know that? I'm the one paying for it." His face hardened, and he turned away. I stormed out, slamming the door, my hands shaking. I hated him for giving up, but I hated myself more for blaming him. He didn't ask for this. Neither did I. I started pulling away bit by bit. I'd skip hospital visits, claiming I had to work. I'd let the kids' calls go to voicemail, telling myself I'd call back later. I was running on empty, and the more I ran, the more I wanted to escape. I'd sit in the Walmart break room staring at my phone, scrolling through old photos of us, Ethan and me at the county fair, the kids covered in ice cream, all of us laughing. I'd zoom in on my face, searching for the woman I used to be. She was gone, and I didn't know how to get her back. One night, I found an old sketchbook in the closet, buried under Ethan's work boots. My designs, dresses, bold and bright, from a time when I thought I could be somebody. I traced the lines with my finger, my throat tight. "You were supposed to be my future," I whispered to the pages. I shoved it back, slamming the door, but the ache stayed. I wasn't just grieving Ethan's accident. I was grieving me, the life I'd given up, the dreams I'd let die. By then, I was a ghost in my own life. I'd look at the kids, at the house, at the bills, and feel like a trapped animal clawing at the cage. I didn't want to be the strong one anymore. I didn't want to be the mom, the wife, the fixer. I just wanted to feel something, anything, besides this crushing weight. I told myself I was doing my best, that I was keeping us afloat, but deep down, I knew I was slipping. I was about to make a choice that would burn my life to the ground, and I was too damn tired to stop it. I'm telling you this because you need to see how it happened, how a woman who loved her family could start to break. Stick with me, because it gets worse. Way worse. The real storm was coming, and I was the one who let it in. If you're still here, you know I was already cracking under the weight of Ethan's accident, the kids, the bills. But what I did next, that's when I lit a match and burned my life to ashes. I wasn't just tired anymore. I was desperate, clawing for anything to make me feel alive. And that's when I met Brandon. It was a Tuesday night after another soul-crushing shift at Walmart. My feet ached, my head throbbed, and I couldn't face going home to the kids' questions or the hospital's sterile stink. So I stopped at a dive bar near the hospital, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs buzzing in the dark. I was nursing a cheap beer, staring at the counter when he slid onto the stool next to me. Brandon. Leather jacket, scruffy beard, driving a beat-up Dodge that roared like it was alive. He had this grin, like the world was a joke and he was in on it. "Rough night, huh?" he said, his voice low. I shrugged, but he kept talking, telling stories about road trips, bar fights, life without a leash. For the first time in months, I laughed. Really laughed. He bought me another drink, then slipped me $200, casual as hell. "You deserve a break, darling," he said. I stared at the cash, my heart racing. I knew it was wrong. Hell, I wasn't stupid. But I took it. I needed to feel something besides the grind. With Brandon, I wasn't the exhausted mom or the failing wife. I was alive. We started meeting up after my shifts. He'd take me to greasy diners, blast country music in his truck, make me forget the hospital, the kids, the debt. One night, he kissed me in the parking lot and I didn't pull away. I told myself it was just a fling, a way to cope. But deep down, I knew I was betraying Ethan. I was still going to the hospital, still playing the dutiful wife. But it felt like a lie. I'd sit by Ethan's bed, his hand limp in mine, while my mind wandered to Brandon's laugh, his hands, the way he made me feel like I wasn't drowning. Ethan was getting worse, not better. The doctors talked about long-term care, wheelchairs, more bills. One day, he looked at me, his eyes hollow. "You're not here, Liv," he whispered. I flinched, guilt stabbing my chest. "I'm right here," I lied, but he turned away. I should have stopped then. Should have seen the line I was crossing, but I was too far gone. Brandon was like a drug. He'd toss me cash for groceries, pay for my gas, promise me a life where I didn't have to count pennies. I started sneaking out more, lying to the kids about late shifts. Sophia caught on first. She's 14, too smart for her own good. "Where you really going, Mom?" she asked one night, her eyes sharp. I snapped. "Mind your business." But her look cut me deeper than any knife. I was lying to my own daughter, and she knew it. The breaking point came fast. Ethan was stable enough to come home, but he needed round-the-clock care. I couldn't do it, not with work, the kids, and Brandon whispering in my ear about starting fresh. I sat Ethan down in his hospital room, my hands shaking. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice flat. I need stability for the kids. He stared at me, his jaw tight, like he knew there was someone else. Do what you gotta do, Liv, he said, his voice cold. I couldn't meet his eyes. I just grabbed my bag and left, my heart pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. I'd chosen, and I'd chosen wrong. I moved out, took the kids to a cramped apartment across town. It's temporary, I told them, forcing a smile. We'll be okay. But Noah clung to his superhero drawings. Chloe cried for her old room, and Sophia barely spoke to me. I leaned on Brandon, believing his promises. He moved in, acting like some savior, but it didn't take long for the cracks to show. He'd disappear for days, come back reeking of whiskey, asking to borrow money. I found out he was gambling. My money, the kids' money. One night, I screamed at him, "You said you'd take care of us." He just laughed, slurring, "You're a big girl, Liv. Figure it out." I threw a glass at the wall, shards scattering like my stupid dreams. I'd traded my family for a con man. The kids were slipping away from me. Sophia started sneaking out, coming home with red eyes. "You left Dad for him?" She spat one night, pointing at Brandon's empty beer cans. I couldn't answer. I just hugged her, tears soaking her hair, but she pushed me away. Noah stopped drawing, and Chloe stopped asking about Ethan. I'd look at them, my babies, and see the damage I'd done. I'd lie awake at night, Brandon snoring beside me, and think, what the hell have I done? I'd gambled everything, my marriage, my kids' trust, for a man who didn't give a damn. Looking back, I hate myself for it. I was weak, selfish, chasing a cheap escape instead of fighting for my family. I thought Brandon was my lifeline, but he was an anchor dragging me down. I'd betrayed Ethan when he needed me most, and now I was paying for it. The worst part? I wasn't done falling. The real price was coming, and it was going to hit harder than I ever imagined. And if you've followed me this far, you know I threw everything away for Brandon, thinking he was my escape from the hell of Ethan's accident and our crumbling life. But fairy tales don't exist in dive bars, and I learned that the hard way. I'd gambled my family, my kids, my soul, and now the bill was due. It started with a gut punch. One morning, after a double shift at Walmart, I dragged myself back to the cramped apartment I shared with Brandon and the kids. The place was a mess. Beer cans on the counter, dishes piled in the sink. I called out for him, but the silence hit me like a brick. His boots were gone, his jacket missing. On the kitchen table, a crumpled note. "Sorry, darling, gotta go." I stood there, my hands shaking, the paper crumpling in my fist. "You piece of trash!" I screamed, kicking the table so hard the cans rattled. But the real truth, I was screaming at myself. I'd been so damn stupid. Brandon didn't just leave, he took everything. The $500 I'd stashed for rent. Gone. The kids' grocery money. Gone. My heart shattered. I sank to the floor, glass crunching under me from a bottle I'd smashed the night before. I cried until my throat burned, cursing him, cursing me. "How could you be this dumb, Olivia?" I whispered, my voice breaking. I'd traded Ethan, my rock, for a con man who didn't even look back. Life after that was a grind sharper than ever. I picked up a second job at a laundromat, folding strangers' clothes while my own kids ate cereal for dinner. The apartment was a shoebox, peeling paint, a leaky faucet, and roaches that didn't even bother hiding. Sophia, my 14-year-old, was spiraling. She'd come home late, eyes red, smelling like smoke. One night, she cornered me, her voice like a knife. "You had someone else before you left Dad, didn't you?" I froze, my heart in my throat. "Sophia, it's not—" I started, but she cut me off. "Don't lie to me, Mom." I reached for her, but she yanked away, slamming her bedroom door. I slid down the wall, hugging my knees, tears soaking my shirt. My own daughter saw through me, and I had no defense. Noah, my quiet 10-year-old, stopped talking much. He'd sit on the couch, staring at his old superhero drawings, the ones he used to make for Ethan. Chloe, only 6, would crawl into my bed at night, whispering, "I miss Daddy." I'd hold her, stroking her hair, saying, "I know, baby." But the guilt was a blade in my chest. I'd lie awake, their faces flashing in my mind, knowing I'd broken their world. I kept telling them, we'll be okay. But it was a lie, and they knew it. Kids always do. Then came the news that gutted me. My friend Jess, who still talked to Ethan's crew, called one night. Liv, you hear about Ethan? My stomach dropped. He's doing better, she said. Walking with a cane now, won big in a lawsuit against the construction company, got a fat settlement. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white. He's starting an event planning business with Ava, that girl who helped with the case. Ava, I'd met her once, soft-spoken, sharp, the kind of woman who didn't crumble under pressure, the kind I used to be. Jess's voice softened. He's happy, Liv. They're good together. I hung up, my chest tight, like someone had punched the air out of me. I should have been glad Ethan was okay, but it hurt like hell. I pictured him smiling with Ava, building a new life, while I was stuck in this dump, scraping by. I'd lie in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, replaying every choice. What if I'd stayed? What if I'd fought for him, for us? Instead, I'd chased Brandon's empty promises, a few $100, a few nights of feeling wanted. I'd thrown away my family for a fantasy, and now I was alone, picking up the pieces. I started avoiding mirrors. I couldn't stand the woman looking back at me, haggard, hollow-eyed, a stranger who'd screwed it all up. One night, I found an old photo in a box, me and Ethan at Sophia's first birthday. He was laughing, his arm around me, cake smeared on my cheek. I traced his face with my finger, my throat tight. I'm sorry, I whispered like he could hear me. But he was gone, and I'd pushed him away. The kids were my only reason to keep going, but even that was slipping. Sophia's anger was a wall I couldn't climb. Noah's silence was louder than any scream. Chloe's questions. Why can't we go home? Cut deeper every time. I'd hug them, promising better days, but my voice shook. I was losing them, and I knew it. I'd sit at the kitchen table after they were asleep, staring at the bills, the eviction notice, Brandon's stupid note. You did this, I'd mutter, slamming my fist on the table. You broke everything. I was at rock bottom, but the worst was still coming. I thought I'd hit the floor, but life had one more lesson to teach me, and it was going to hurt worse than anything. I'm telling you this because you need to see how low I fell, how my choices ripped my world apart. Stay with me. It's not over yet, and the price I paid was heavier than I ever imagined. You know I've lost everything. My marriage, my kids' trust, my own damn self. Chasing a lie named Brandon. I thought I'd hit rock bottom, but life wasn't done teaching me. The final blow was coming, and it would break what little I had left. This is where I face the wreckage I made and learn the hardest lesson of all. I couldn't keep living like this, scraping by in that roach-infested apartment, watching my kids slip further away. Sophia's anger, Noah's silence, Chloe's tears, they haunted me. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Ethan. Jess's words echoed. He was thriving, walking again, building a new life with Ava. I hated myself for it, but I was jealous. Not just of Ava, but of the life he had, one I'd thrown away. I started to wonder if I could fix it, if I could claw my way back to my family. It was a long shot, but I had to try. I tracked Ethan down at his new office, a sleek little building downtown with Morgan Events on the sign. My heart pounded as I walked in, my Walmart uniform wrinkled, my hair a mess. The place was bright, all glass and polished wood, nothing like the chaos of my life. Ava was there, standing by a desk, her smile warm but sharp. She recognized me, her eyes flickering with pity. Olivia, she said, calm, like she'd been expecting me. I swallowed hard, asking for Ethan. She nodded, leading me to his office. Ethan looked different, stronger, leaning on a cane but standing tall. His face hardened when he saw me, but he didn't yell. What do you want, Liv? He asked, his voice steady. I took a breath, my hands shaking. I want us to try again, Ethan. For the kids. I was begging, my voice cracking. I messed up, okay? I was scared. I was weak. But I'm here now. I spilled it all, Brandon. The affair. How sorry I was. I thought confessing would fix something, but His eyes told me I was too late. He leaned back, his jaw tight. You left me when I needed you most, Olivia. You chose him over us. Ava stayed. She fought for me. His words hit like a slap. I wanted to scream, to beg, but I saw it in his face. He was done. I'm sorry, I whispered, tears burning my eyes. He just nodded, like he'd already mourned me. I walked out, past Ava's quiet stare, feeling like the smallest person in the world. I'd lost him for good, and I had no one to blame but myself. Then came the real gut punch. Ethan filed for custody. I got the papers a week later, my hands shaking as I read them. The lawyer I could barely afford laid it out. I didn't stand a chance. My affair, the unstable apartment, the late-night shifts, Brandon's gambling debts, it all painted me as unfit. I fought, I begged, but the court didn't care about my tears. Ethan had a stable home, a business, Ava. I had nothing but regrets. The day I signed the papers was the worst of my life. Sophia, Noah, and Chloe sat across from me in the lawyer's office, their eyes on the floor. I tried to explain, my voice breaking. I love you guys so much. This is just for now. But they knew. Chloe climbed into my lap, her little arms tight around my neck. You'll be okay, right, Mommy? She asked, her voice so small. I nodded, choking back sobs. Yeah, baby, I'll be fine. But I was lying again. I hugged them all, memorizing their faces, their smells, before they walked out with Ethan. The door clicked shut, and I broke, sobbing into my hands, alone. Now I'm in a one-bedroom apartment, smaller than the last, working as a cashier at a gas station. I see the kids every other weekend, if I'm lucky. They're happy with Ethan and Ava. Sophia's back in school. Noah's drawing again. Chloe's got a new stuffed bear. I'm glad for them, I am, but it hurts like hell. I miss their laughter, their fights, the way they'd pile into my bed on stormy nights. I miss being their mom. Some nights, I lose it. I'll slam my fist on the table, screaming, "Why were you so stupid, Olivia?" The neighbors probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. Other nights, I just sit there, staring at an old sketch of a dress I drew years ago, wondering who that woman was. I can't go back, can't undo what I did. I chose wrong. Money, lust, escape, over the man who loved me, the family we built. The price was everything. I'm telling you this not for pity, but as a warning. Life doesn't give do-overs. I learned too late that nothing's worth more than loyalty, than showing up when it's hard. I lost my family, but I'm trying to rebuild one day at a time. I smile at customers, save for a new sketchbook, dream of designing again. It's small, but it's mine. If you're listening, don't make my mistake. Hold tight to what matters, because once it's gone, you'll spend every day paying for it. I know I do.